Okay, this is segment 3. We're going to be dealing with the internal MK ultrastructure and what that looks like and how it was created. Internal systems aren't the same for every survivor, but just like houses, each one of us live in a different house. Each one of us has a different place where we stay, whether you're in a tent, whether you're in a hotel, whether you're in a house, all those things look different, but they all have the basic tenets. They've got doors, they've got windows, they've got different rooms, etc. I'm going to describe what Allie's internal system looks like. The takeaways from this will be, number 1, that it was deliberately created. So the people doing the trauma, the raping, the torturing, the programming, deliberately put those things in place. Like there's almost a whole internal world in the MK system on the inside. In the last 2 segments, we talked about PTSD and we talked about triggers, flashbacks, and those types of things. Those are symptoms of the trauma that was done and how they go about creating. So those are the things that they did to create the splits. Now we're going to talk about how they structured an internal system in Allie's psyche, and how they placed everything, and everything is deliberate and deep. So when you're, as I'm talking and you're seeing how deep this goes, I want you to remember that it was put there on purpose by very evil people, that they use trauma, rape, torture, satanic rituals, extreme trauma to create this. So ask yourselves why. Why would somebody do this to another human? In Allie's system, there are 66 levels. I don't have the wherewithal to detail all of that out for you. I got to the Dollar Tree and grabbed a couple pieces of poster board and some markers, so I can give you some visuals of what it looks like and how Allie has described it to me. I'm not an artist, so if you're going to get lost on my art, this probably isn't the conversation for you because you're missing the whole point. In Allie's system, there are 66 levels. There are 4 of those levels that don't have any altars on them. There are foundational programming. One of the 2 or 3 of those levels have houses, and those are houses where she has been raped and tortured and abused. There are also portals in some of those 4 bottom levels, where sometimes they will take an altar from one of the different levels and take them down to that level and either do some programming, reinforce some trauma, do those kind of things. So it's kind of like the workstation on some of those levels, but out of the 62 levels left, there are 25 to 30 altars on each level. So you can do the math on that. I've documented probably about 240 altars right now. There are at least 100 altars that I've missed, and by missed, I either didn't write their name down, didn't think to ask their name, there was too much going on, they didn't have a name, they were deaf, they were blind, they weren't able to communicate. So there are at least 100 instances of altars that I've missed documenting, but by my count right now, there's probably about 240. The majority of the altars are under the age of 16 years old. There are probably 5 that are over the age of 18. Allie, Maddie, there were 2 elderly women. They were 80-year-old altars from different levels. I've not seen them for a while. And then there's 1 other altar that's above the age of 18. That doesn't mean that she split during that time. That means that they have altars of all ages on each of the different levels. And this is really hard to explain because it's so in-depth and it's so layered and it's such a foreign concept for most normal people that it's really hard to grasp what all is going on. It's one of those things, if you didn't see it for yourself, you wouldn't believe it. What I'm about to explain next, if you're just new to this, you probably won't understand. The people that are evil and the people that put these things into place, they'll understand exactly what I'm saying because it's something that nobody was supposed to find out. But while they have did the mother programming and the father programming, this does link to the government. It does link to military. The mother programming is directly tied to the Congress. It's tied to congressional elections. It's tied to when you saw Congress doing crazy things or signaling different things, they're activating and triggering survivors. Just as the mother programming is related to Congress, the father programming is related to the presidential elections. So there is coding done that the rest of the world doesn't see, but survivors see it and survivors know. These MK secrets are not supposed to be talked about. I understand the depth of these MK secrets. I understand the threat that comes with them, but I'm really out of fucks to give. And I'm not keeping evil people's secrets. I'm just not. So whatever comes, it is what it is. So on these portal levels and the houses levels, I think it's basically a command center of sorts in the system to keep the altars under control, to punish them when they need to be punished. There are electricity components down here where they torture the survivors. There are houses, places where they've been tortured that are replicas. And then there's layers of demons on these lower levels, these lower 4 levels in the system. Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me here. I kind of sketched out as best I could what this looks like internally for an MK survivor. So the little gingerbread body with jeans on, we're gonna pretend that's Allie. Here's the splits in her psyche. We'll talk about each of these things in a minute. But as we're going up, I want you to imagine a 66-story apartment building with doors. On each of these levels is where the altars are placed. They're coded, numbered, put in place for future reference for evil people to do evil things. On this level, it would be the presenting level, and this is the level that the altars that you guys interact with. These are the altars that come on the lives and talk. This is just some of them. It's not all of them, but they each have their room. On this presenting level, there's also a nursery that has 4 or 5 kids that are under the age of 5, including a couple newborns. So in last segment, we talked about how they cause trauma and they do things to get the heart rate up to split the psyche. When that psyche splits, it makes a clean slate. When you have that clean slate, then they start putting codes and phrases and different things in onto that piece of the clean slate so that they can come back to it later and program it how they want to do the things they want it to do, to know the things they want it to know. So if you imagine that, we're going to take this piece right here, this clean slate split, and we're going to put it up here in the system. So now it's tucked away in the system. It's got a code and a number that they've already documented. They can come back later and use this for whatever they want. So as you look at each of these doors, and know that I've said that there are 62 levels that have 25 to 30 altars on each level. As you listen to that, I want you to know that there's trauma that's happened to a child, to Allie, to other survivors, over and over and over and over again to create all these doors and all these altars. At the time of the splitting, when they've made the clean slate, they've coded it and tucked it away up here. They've also layered in a demon over it, and they will put that into the system to basically do their bidding, to torment the new part, to do a lot of things, to give information, to activate programming. So those demons get layered in there. One of the first things that they do is start with foundational programming. So if you're building a house, you have to first put down your foundation. That means you got to level the land. That means you have to pour cement and lay the pipes and make sure that the foundation is secure and solid and level so you can start building your house on it. It works the same for MK Ultra programming. The fathers start with the programming as the first layer of the foundation. So they start raping the child. Usually the fathers anally rape the children. And this is reserved for fathers. It creates a primal code. And by primal, I mean it hurts so bad, it takes you to a primal level. Probably women, if you think of childbirth, that primal level of pain that you're in, I think it does the same for the children. But the fathers will do that. In Allie's system, there were 200 father signatures. I've listed a few here. So over 200 males put their signature by some type of rape, a lot of it anal, on Allie's system. And that is the first layer of the foundation of the MK Ultra programming. In a minute, I'm going to tell you that it goes even further, but we'll talk about that in a second, how it links to the government. The next foundational layer is the mother programming and the mother signatures. What they try to do is to corrupt and destroy any normal relationship that might be happening with a mother and a child. If you think of a newborn baby, that baby is bonded mostly to the mother, but also to the father. In MK Ultra and satanic ritual abuse, they will use any means necessary to corrupt, distort, just whatever they can do to make break those ties that a child would have to a mother, natural ties that a child would have to their mother and their father. They have to destroy all that and break all that by any means necessary in order for the programming to hold. MK Ultra programming needs an anchor. So the same way that you would use a nail to hang a picture on a wall, the MK Ultra needs an anchor. So they need pain, fear, torture, anything like that, which is why they do things for the PTSD. They need those things to be in place to anchor the programming. Otherwise, the programming won't stick. You've got to have something to hold it. And usually it's fear, it's pain, it's trauma, it's torture. So they inflict those things on the child to represent the nail in order to hang the MK Ultra programming on. So with the father programming, I said earlier, it's largely contingent on anal rape. So when they're trafficking the survivors, anal sex is usually reserved, or it costs a lot more money because it will make a signature. It will make a father signature in their programming, and they don't want that unless they have a need for it. So then anal rape goes on top of the father signatures. Satanic ritual abuse goes over top of that as another anchor. In Allie's case, when she got to be a little bit older, she started being raped by authority, which were police officers, firemen, those types of things. So on top of the father signature, now we have the authority. So at any time there's any authority, it's going to trigger Allie to remember the father signature and to remember the rapes and put her back into a PTSD state, to put her back into a trancey state. To put her back into a trancey state. When the police authority raped Allie, the one police officer would put his gun and his badge down each time to create a trigger, the same way that they did with the spider. So on top of the authority rapes, now we have the gun and the badge trigger. So anytime Allie's out, if somebody in authority touches their gun or their badge, it's going to trigger her. I told you Aaliyah was doing a lot of programming to Allie, and she was using spiders. So in Aaliyah's case, she would torture Allie, and then on top of that, to lock in her signature into the system as a mother figure. she would use the spiders to trigger. So what I'm trying to say is, number one, they've used rape and torture to put a signature into the system and to create programming. The authority that raped and tortured, now his signature and his name is locked in the father's programming. On top of that, he used his gun and his badge. So if you are trying to help a survivor, you have to know, number one, that the authority, who his name is. Number two, that he raped her anally, vaginally, however. Number three, that he used a gun and a badge to trigger her. So all those things keep it locked in. So you can't easily undo these things. You can't just reverse engineer something like that, because it's layers and layers and layers that they put into place to keep that programming intact. All these signatures, all this mother programming and father programming, all works together to anchor and hold the MK Ultra programming. So as we continue to go through this, I want you to think about how many survivors there are, how deep and how layered the trauma goes, what you would do to help a survivor. How are you going to help a survivor? How are you going to help each alter? How are you going to help them heal? It's for very many years, it was a very impossible task to me. There was no way to logically dismantle any of this. There wasn't any way to resolve any of this. There's no medication for it. There's no amount of talk counseling that you can go to that's going to help. When the world understands how much trauma and evil has been done to survivors at the hands of the people that we sit next to, at the hands of the people that we go to church with, at the hands of the people that we watch on our TV or that we pay money to go to their concerts, the world's going to be broken in a way that they'll never recover from. So I'm going to pull up another little prop thing that I made to show you more in depth. So this is kind of just the overview of the internal system. What I'm going to show you next is focusing on what's behind these doors, who's behind the doors and what else is behind the doors, because it doesn't end there. Like when I say it's so many layers and layers and layers, I'm not exaggerating in the least. Okay, so I showed you the levels and the doors. So down here, I made a different thing. So this is a more in-depth look at what goes on behind the doors. So here's the altars. These are their doors like you saw up above. We'll start with Allie. So if Allie was put in this room, in Allie's room, there might be mirrors. So you hear the kids say a lot of times that they're not psychic. But there's things in their room that are tools that have been put there by programmers and coders and stitchers and encryptors. They've programmed the system. I've explained that they program the system the way you would build a house by leveling a foundation and putting a foundation and putting the anchors in. But they have also programmed the system the same way you would program a computer. And we're going to talk about that more in another segment. But in each person's room, there are things that they have in there that equip them to do different things. A lot of those things would be considered supernatural type of things. So in Allie's room, there are mirrors. In those mirrors become shadows. They're used as portals. They are used to see into the future. They are used to warn of a threat. So that's what is in her room. We come over here to Sky's room. We come over here to Sky's room. In Sky's room, she has walls of TVs. So in Sky's room, there are walls and walls and walls of TVs. I think there are 66 different TVs. So if you think about going to Best Buy, where you're shopping, or Walmart, if you're going to shop for a TV, and on the back wall, there's just TVs, all different sizes. They're all playing. They're all on different channels. That's kind of the situation that goes on here. each one of those TVs is showing future events, things that are going to come in the future, things that might be happening. It's not just things that deal with Allie. It's not just things that deal with us. It's all types of things. So when you're looking at this, understand that somebody programmed that and put that into place for a reason. Let's go over to Dakota. Dakota has radios in her room. On those radios are predictions of future things. So do you remember when Allie called the fires and Allie called that Biden was going to be elected, and she called scores? It's because of the things that are in some of their rooms. They have different things that do all kind of different tasks. Cash registers. One of the kids in their room has cash registers. So when they were being trafficked, they were told to get as much money out of the John as they could. They were to do whatever they could to get as much money off their card, to find out their PIN code, to engage them in conversation about their family and their kids and what's your birthday and those types of things, looking for the PIN codes. They would then look on the cash register and it would give them codes to the cards. How does that work? I have no clue. I just know that it does. I just know that it was put into place by evil people. I just know that very evil things were done and continue to be done to survivors. For Maddie, picture frames in her room. The picture frames were described to me that they are like the old Polaroid pictures. So when things are going on, all of a sudden these picture frames will start developing a picture, and it'll be kind of a slow focus thing that shows something that's about to come up in the future. So when Allie says I'm not psychic, she's not psychic. She's not entertaining demons. She's not looking into crystal balls. But in their rooms are different things that allow them to do things that normal people don't do or can't do. In Taya's room, there are keys. So I want you to think about, I think it was Ellen, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe not, but she had a bowl of these type of keys on her coffee table. I think there was a magazine spread of somebody, her, Oprah, or somebody, but they had a bowl of old-fashioned keys on their table. In each of these rooms, there are keyholes for very different keys, and they do different things. They turn things on, they turn things off. In addition to what's in their room, so in Allie's room, there's mirrors in Allie's room. In addition to that, there is wallpaper on the wall. There are lights in each of their rooms. There are lights in the hallways. They signal different things. They code different things. But are you understanding the depth of this? Are you understanding that the things in their room aren't there accidentally? The wallpaper on the walls is not there accidentally. The lights in the system are not there accidentally. Somebody deliberately did all of these things. When we were looking at the other schematic, and we were talking about the mother programming, when Allie came, after we got through the PTSD and things like that, we didn't know it at the time. They didn't know how to explain it to me at the time, but a lot of those mother things started crashing. A lot of that mother programming started crashing. The best example I can give you is the people that stood in the mother position. There were, I think, about 200, maybe more, signatures on the mother position. The people that stood in that position told her she was stupid, that she was unwanted, that she was unloved. Anything traumatic to do, anything traumatic to say, to break those mother links and bonds, to just destroy that out of a kid is what the goal was. When she came with me and we started doing normal things, when I would make her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, when we would go play at the park, when I would push her on the swings, that started reverse engineering some of those mother signatures. So a lot of that was coming down, unbeknownst to me at the time, because I wasn't understanding the things that I understand now. But there would be times where they would tell me that it sounded like something was crashing on the inside. It sounded like the building was falling. There would be times it would be so intense, they would duck and cover and put their arms and hands over their ears and tuck their head like the ceiling was about to fall in on them. So I would say, you know, what's going on? What do you hear? And they would say it sounded like glass breaking. It sounded like wood breaking, like wood beams just breaking in two. The sound that you would hear, it sounded like the whole building was about to collapse in on them. So please understand how many layers there are to the MK Ultra. We use that term very loosely. We use it like a buzzword. We use it to, you know, just explain away things without ever stopping to understand the depth of it, the depth of what's been done, the fact that it was ordered and structured in such a way, how many experiments do you think had to happen over the decades for them to be able to do this to people? To so split their psyche that they can control every aspect of their psyche, that they can call up whatever altars they want to call up to do whatever task they want to do. The goal of it was for these altars to never, for them to never interact with each other. The goal of it was, if they needed Taya to do something, they could send her down here to the presenting level where she had control of the body, and she would do whatever it is she was tasked to do, whether it be being trafficked. Say she was trafficked to Joe Biden, they would trigger her and call her codes to come down here to the presenting level. She would be trafficked to Joe Biden. Okay. When that scenario was over, she would go back up here, and then Allie would come back down to the presenting level, and Allie would have no knowledge that Taya existed, number one, and number two, that Taya had just been trafficked to Joe Biden. You understand? That's how it was supposed to work. It was supposed to compartmentalize everybody to keep them separate, so they didn't interact, that they didn't see each other, that they didn't talk to each other, that they didn't know what the other one was doing, because it kept safety for the evil people. Because if Taya's up here and she's not able to get out of her room and she's locked back in her room, then nobody would ever know that Taya was trafficked to Joe Biden. Does that make sense? We're going to post up, I think it's about 10 or 15 pictures of the altars. They range in ages from 5 years up to 80. But each picture that you see is a different altar. There's 2 or 3 pictures in there. I don't even know those altars' names. I just happened to catch them at the spur of the moment in a picture, and then looking back, I didn't recognize them. What you need to understand is every time a survivor is online and speaking, every time Allie is online and speaking, there are evil people that sit on the other side of the screen, and they recognize each altar. They know which altar they put their signature on. They know which altar they created. So they're always looking for survivors, and then they're doing things to trigger them. They're doing things to put their programming back into place. We're in one of the next segments, we'll talk about the types of programming and the types of altars that they create. But understand that our government created all of this Initially, I think they were trying to say that was to use, they were trying to use it to pass government secrets. So if Arya needed to pass a government secret, they would put information to Arya. They would give her instructions of what to do. Arya would be taken down here to the presenting level, deliver the instructions, deliver the codes, deliver whatever paper she had on her to whoever, and then she would be put back onto her level. When the altars start working together, when the altars start acknowledging each other, is when the programming starts to break. There are many MK survivors that will not acknowledge their altars. If they do acknowledge them, they have a hatred for them. And I think that's by programming design, because again, the programming can't stay in place if everybody's on the same page and everybody's working together. When the altars start caring about each other, when they start working together for the good of the body, of the person in the body, that's when the programming starts to break. That's when the lies start to come undone. If you think of the lies and the fear and the pain and all of that as the nail, once those lies and pain and things that they've gone through start to come undone, the programming starts to break. But that's not an easy thing to do. It was designed not to be a very easy thing to do. This is such an in-depth topic. It's really hard to narrow it down cohesively and speak on it in a way that makes sense, because it's just such an in-depth topic, and it's already hard to wrap your head around that much evil being done against our children. So I hope you understand. I hope I made sense. I hope these visuals helped a little bit to grasp the depth of it and understand this is why I'm willing to die on this hill, because I don't believe this should ever be done to another human being, let alone a child. Many of us get up in arms about black slavery and slavery in the past and the Holocaust, and we feel some type of way about those things. But what's being done here is a complete different type of slavery, and it's crickets. People should be outraged. People should be in the street. People should be demanding change, and most people are just sleeping through what's being done to our children.